buoys, that kind of thing. Gradually, the wreck stopped happening. The wrecking court finally closed its doors in the 1920s. And there went another industry for little old Key West. Now, if you were to look at a nautical chart of this island, one thing that would become very, very clear very quickly is that Key West is not Key West. We're not the westernmost key. How did we get the name Key West? Early Spanish explorers, they landed here on this island in about 1495, late 1490s. And the first thing they noticed when they landed on the island was that there was a lot of Indian bones laying around. This was either an Indian burial ground or an Indian battleground. Nobody knows which to this very day. So, those Spanish explorers named the island Cayo Hueso. Cayo Hueso means Bone Island. That remained our name until the mid-1700s, about 1750 or so, when English-speaking settlers started arriving here. They simply corrupted the name. Cayo became Key, Hueso became West. That's how we got the name Key West. Many Hispanic communities still call us Cayo Hueso, which means Bone Island. So Bone Island is more technically our name. Now, we had a big industry going in the 1600s, piracy. We had all the pirates of the Caribbean here at one time or another. Well, almost all of them. We never did have Johnny Depp, Jack Sparrow, but we had the rest of them. And all the others in the world wanted to get rid of these people. So they sent a man down here named Commodore David Porter. Porter had a special fleet of ships called Mosquito. They were able to chase the pirates up into the shallows and destroy them or run them out of the area once and for all. Now, as I go through this next intersection, look over on the far left-hand corner. The big pink house over there called the Southernmost House. That was the southernmost house in the United States when it was built in 1896 for Judge Binding in Paris. We still call it the Southernmost House, but it's no longer the Southernmost House. Hasn't been the Southernmost House since an author named Thelma Strable came to town in 1940. She had written a book called Reap the Wild Wind. That was the story of our wrecking industry. It was later made into a movie, by the way, starring John Wayne and Ray Milland. But Thelma built her house right here to the left, and she had that home intentionally positioned 18 inches further south than the southernmost house, because she wanted the title Southernmost House. She didn't get it. We call her house the Southernmost House. We still call the other the Southernmost House. Now here we are at the southernmost point in the continental United States. That buoy right there marks the spot here, 90 miles from Havana, Cuba, 85 miles further south than Brownsville, Texas. And all you guys on the train, along with these people right here, you're all the southernmost tourists. Congratulations. But don't get a big head, because here's the southernmost stop sign. These are the southernmost illegally parked scooters in the continental United States. And there's the southernmost trash can. Coming up is the southernmost snow cone guy. Everything becomes southernmost something here on the island. And you heard that bird in just a minute. I'm going to tell you about those birds in just a moment. You probably can hear the rooster. I'll tell you about it later. On the left-hand side here is the southernmost Navy housing area in the continental United States. This is where they house pilots from up at Boca Chica Naval Air Station. That is what the Navy calls a Top Gun training facility. It's where they house the pilots and train them for flying those F-18s and other supersonic planes that they have up there. Now, in 1831, a gentleman named William Wall came to town from England. Wall started a cigar factory here. His cigars were hand-rolled. They were made using imported Cuban tobacco. Well, the business took off. By the 1890s, we were producing over 100 million of those hand-rolled cigars. We had 150 factories, and they were all made using that imported Cuban tobacco. But the 1959 trade embargo against Cuba eliminated yet another industry for us here in Key West. Now look over to the right. There's a yellow building with a green metal roof on it and glass atrium on the back. That's our Butterfly Conservatory. That's one of the newest attractions here on the island. And I got to tell you, I'm not much of a butterfly kind of guy, but ladies, I attended a wedding in there, and I can't describe to you how beautiful this wedding was. The bride was drop dead gorgeous. She was wearing the white gown with the veil and the trailer behind it. And the butterflies, some of them are as big as dinner plates, They were lighting all up and down that just shimmering with color. Picture the thing with all the butterflies, tropical birds, flowers everywhere, misters, all that kind of stuff. That was a stop sign. All that kind of stuff. The butterflies were just shimmering with color. You can't picture a more beautiful wedding than that, can you? But you know what happened when it came time for the bride to say I do? She couldn't. She had butterflies in her stomach. The one that groaned the loudest will be the first one to use it, okay?
This is Latte Doc.
Now, we're going to turn down this next little side street here, and as I do, there's a pretty severe dip in the road, so do hold on.
There's a bump coming up.
All your stuff.
What's he means?
There you go. Now this area is called El Barrio de Gato. All the Cuban cigar manufacturers built these villages for their workers. We wound up with villages like this all over the island. It was a pretty good idea. But now I want to tell you, I know you've seen, some of you probably noticed the birds walking around the island, like right there behind that house. They look remarkably like chickens and roosters. Have you seen them? Anybody? Yeah. They look a lot like chickens and roosters, and they sound just like roosters and chickens, and they pretty much taste just like chicken, but those aren't chickens and roosters. At least that's not what we call them. We call them Key West Eagles. And the little small ones that you'll see running around behind them sometimes, we call those McNuggets. They're bantam chickens. Cockfighting, rooster fighting was very popular here for many, many years. They outlawed it about 1960. Everybody turned those little chickens loose. And what nobody really thought about was that Key West is a bird sanctuary, always has been. They're now protected by law, and they've just kind of evolved into being our unofficial mascot of the island. Now look to your left up above the trees, and there's the lighthouse. That's the second lighthouse we've had here on the island. This lighthouse was built in 1847. The first lighthouse we had was built in 1825 back there at the Southernmost Point. And